Each of the NFC's top 3 seeds failed to reach conference championship weekend. Matt, I have a simple question for you. Of those 3 teams, which was the biggest letdown?
Well, Scott, first of all, kudos to us on the 49ers. I think we've been riding with them since day one. So awesome to see them in the NFC Championship game,
100%.
even though we didn't actually pick them. Still going to ride with them. But on that note, the biggest letdown is the Packers. This was a team that when you look at what they did, the way they built their roster, even getting the bye to allow guys like Zadarius Smith to come back, Jair Alexander, you had everything going for you. And you had Packer fans and a lot of people throughout the country and that follow the NFL saying this is the year for the Packers. And then you end up only scoring 10 points in a game that was custom built for why people don't want to play in Lambeau, but it made it look like the Packers didn't want to play in Lambeau at all. Not to mention, this looks like it might be the end of the era with Aaron Rodgers. The team is going into a salary cap nightmare this offseason. And so the only kind of thing that was holding them together was the thought that you sell the future or mortgage the future to get to the Super Bowl. You don't let that happen. You let Jimmy Garoppolo come in, and even though the offense doesn't score a touchdown, they still win. And I think the most damning fact or stat from that entire game, and we were talking about it earlier in our meeting, the 49ers did not lead until the very last play of the game.
Tough way
the
to
Packers
lose.
either had the lead or a tie. That's disappointment. At home, number 1 seed with a bye, your star players are coming back. Nothing but disappointment and a complete letdown.
100%, especially when you preface this season with images of The Last Dance.
Yep.
Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, when you make the fuss that you did, if you're Aaron Rodgers prior to the season, virtually holding the franchise hostage, waiting on your word.
And you look like you're going to be MVP.
Right.
For a 4th time.
So, for all those reasons, obviously the Packers were just a massive letdown. There's really no reason for them to lose that game at home after a bye. But, a lot of those reasons that you mentioned, the same can be said for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that letdown just stings just that much more when you consider the fact that Jerry Jones publicly said that this was a Super Bowl or bust season. The fact that you pay Dak Prescott that exorbitant amount in terms of a contract extension before the season. When you have Micah Parsons, who is a slam dunk first-round pick. People have already talking about him as perhaps maybe the best defensive player in the NFL already.
Yep.
He was many people's defensive player of the year candidate. He'll certainly win defensive rookie of the year. When you have a Trevon Diggs who led the league in interceptions this season, you have a dominant defense to pair with your offense that has been explosive for years now when Dak Prescott is healthy, when Ezekiel Elliott is in the lineup. And all those things were true when the Dallas Cowboys hosted the San Francisco 49ers in the wild card round and were unable to beat Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, it's a massive letdown, especially when you think about, all the reasons that I mentioned. You're at home. You have the superior team. You have the superior talent. It's just a mess.
Yep.
And I really can't I can't imagine any Cowboys fan, even feeling optimism for the future when this team is coming back. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
The only, hope that you would really have is that Dak Prescott continues to evolve, that these pieces can continue to get better, and that hopefully Kellen Moore can stay in the building. And that's why I think it's a bit more of a letdown. Obviously, the Aaron Rodgers future in Green Bay is clearly up in the air, but there are plenty more question marks in Dallas at this moment. But
Well, again, this is looking like the Packers are going to lose most of their roster and they have to try and figure out what's going on with their money, where it's going to go. You might lose Devontae Adams as well.
Right.
It looks like you might lose Zadarius Smith. And the other thing, I think for both of these teams, you went into games, even though we picked the Niners to beat the Cowboys, these were both games where if you watch the tape and you rewatch this game, the 49ers didn't go out and just dominate and win. It was more on the home team beating themselves and playing just one of the worst games that either team had played all season.
100%.
And so that is why it's such a letdown. I think Dallas has a little bit more of something to look forward to because they do actually know who is coming back.
Sure.
And who is coming back did get them to the playoffs. I don't know what's going to happen with the Packers.
And this is another thing, too, talking about the future, moving things forward. Mike McCarthy is returning. That can't sit well in your gut as a Cowboys fan. And again, knowing that Kellen Moore is most likely going to be elsewhere and a head coaching gig, it doesn't sit well, especially when, your last play that you remember from the 2021-22 season of the Dallas Cowboys is, Dak Prescott, trying to get extra yards to get his team in position, and it just doesn't happen the way they wanted it to. But that's going to do it for us. For Scott Procter and Matt Morris, we'll catch you next time.